The time is just gone 9:39 a.m. As we continue with the broadcast this morning, we are now unpacking or analyzing the COPE political party, the failure to address divisions within the party, and looking at some of the consequences. And we heard in the news about COPE President Mosiwe Lekota saying that those seeking to remove him from power are being divisive and at risk of destroying the party entirely. We joined on the line this morning by political analyst Dr. Ebrahim Harvey. Dr. Ibrahim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome.
Alaikum salam. Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be with you.
Yes, always a pleasure having you with us now. We see this thing over and over again and looking at smaller parties and the survival of smaller parties like COPE in the South African political landscape. But this is a problem with regard to parties that are divided, and we always appear to be seeing these struggles continuing. Whether we're talking about the ANC and the factionalism, and we are seeing what is taking place with Mosiwe Lekota and COPE, Dr. Ibrahim.
Yes. Do you mind if I just say something very quickly?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's an important thing. It regards what your last speaker said. Just very, very quickly before I get onto this, it's important. She's wrong when she says to you that the interracial, meaning between black and white in South Africa, is greater. Yes, it is a bit greater, but what she doesn't point out, which is crucially important, is the intra within the black population far outstrips the interracial inequalities. It is a crucial distinction to make, which she failed to do. She said the interracial between black and white is greater. It's far greater intraracial within the black population inequalities. But that's what, thanks to BE and AA. So now onto your question about the COPE. I'm not saying the COPE looming split is much ado about nothing. COPE, however, don't forget, COPE started off 2008. The first election thereafter, they won 1.3 million votes. They had 37 MPs. Just get that clear. And then you'll see what a catastrophic decline they have suffered. There are many reasons for it. But what people don't do, and especially with the parties that have been attached, the National Liberation Parties attached to either African or stroke black nationalism, as they shrink in size and clout, you must remember the more MPs you have and representatives in the House of Assembly and other governmental structures, the more income and resources you get. So what you've had, every party has suffered from this, the ANC too. As its strength declines at the polls, they become more desperate, whoever is left in the party. Because at the end of the day, many people, let me tell you, like with the ANC, the only job that they ever had was ANC councillor jobs. They've never had jobs before. They were without skills, qualifications. So that giving you the social material roots for how vicious, this is what's happening in COPE. The implosion of COPE, it's been happening steadily, but it's now because they're sitting with only 2 members of parliament here, and I think 7, 8 or 10 councillors, I mean, it's a far cry from what so you've got to place that dramatic decline of COPE in perspective. And secondly, it's so heavy, and this practice of combat that is broken up in the ranks. You mustn't forget the national chairperson, the guy Laute. On Tuesday, he contradicted Lekota. When Lekota said what was happening and the reasons for it, and so on, he said no. There was a bitterness, that clouded his judgment. And the previous official statement that was made by COPE that it's not true. So it is reached a point where, and that's why many analysts are saying that, it looks like they're 1 foot away from the grave. Because when you were sitting with 2 members of parliament, the ability to withstand internal issues that reaches breaking point is diminished. If you have got more MPs, and more leaders around, and more, then the resources are greater.
Well,
Hello?
certainly. Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Ibrahim.
I'm hearing other voices. I don't know what's
Okay.
happening. I'm
Okay,
hearing
I'll
other
go from my
voices.
side. Hold on.
Yes, in fact, I'm
Hold on.
also listening. I'm not too sure where it's actually coming
Yeah,
from.
It's
there's
still
But
going
a lot
on.
of voices. I don't know what's going on
Okay,
here.
you can hang up the phone.
yes, I think there has been some cross line or something of that sort. What we're going to do is we're going to try and see if we can't obviously just link up again. I know, I see it's gone quiet. You can continue, Dr. Ibrahim.
Yeah, it's just broken my train of thought. But yeah, I'm just trying to very briefly give you a picture, and now you can see. He is that contradicted Madisha. Madisha issued a statement to say that Likota is the reason for this. He's a very divisive figure, etc. The national chairperson, within 24 hours, contradicted Madisha. He says no, Madisha was to save his own skin. Now there you can see. This is the national chairperson of the party. That told me really that it's gone so bad that really I think a split is looming. It's inevitable. I don't foresee how they're going to be able to mend what has happened. It's very deep. And as I've said to you, it's very important thing, I don't want to get into political science here. But once your forces diminish and you are 36, 37 members and you're now down to two, the resources, intellectual and political, to resolve a conflict of this nature is affected profoundly. And so, they're repeating themselves, but it's reached a fractionalist point, deep divisions. I think there's three different camps in Cope, and you can see the first fighting that happened a day or two before. Yeah, it looks very bad, man. And I
Yes,
don't think they're going to survive. But, you have to
exactly.
look at the
But
broader
also,
scheme of things.
also, Dr. Ibrahim Harvey, when one looks at leadership battles, these are not new in COPE. These are not new in a number of political parties. And also, I think the key issue here is in the case of Mosiwa Lakota, they want him to go and they want him to retire. And this is sometimes a problem with these politicians. And we see it even within the ANC, that there are politicians. Who one can define as sometimes even as dead wood in terms of performance, but it's just that it's a power that goes with the position, and they just don't know when to go.
Yeah, but you must remember he's at the end of a two-term, huh? So I think it's a 10-year thing. He's in any case close to that. But I think people have become so dissatisfied. You can't dismiss a chorus. There's an overwhelming, there's no doubt about it. And, I knew Madisha very well at one stage. We met often when he was facing his own battles in Kossat, which led to his dismissal, some years back. So I know him well. He's a good person, etc., though we had political difference around the ANC. But I really think he is the person. I think Madisha would do a considerably better job than has Likota. And indeed, Likota has had genuinely, in fact, I don't know, it's a serious problem because you should want to move out. Once you reach his health problems, he conceded prostate cancer. They say he no longer has the energy. It's too much of a groundswell of that sentiment to be dismissed. I think there's some legitimacy to it. And because I do what I do, I watch people very closely when they speak. He has lost his vitality. There's no doubt about it. I've watched him, you can see his face even. He looks tired. And no doubt when you've got prostate cancer, it affects you seriously, So, he should have bowed out gracefully. He did not. And what has done in an accumulation of pressures has built up, which is now led to, there's no way, let me tell you, he's going to survive. If you see the fisticuffs and what happened, and they said he's flouting the constitution, he's been suspended. And indeed, when he's suspended, and constitutional structures have apparently suspended him, he's got to go. At least until the suspension is investigated and what the things are, etc. So it seems at the end of the day, constitutionally, politically, organizationally, Likota is on his way out. I don't think he's going to survive. There's too much of a groundswell of opinion against him and very firmly against him. And then they accused him of going to the Free State surreptitiously, calling a meeting with people who sat with him in that press conference. So I think Lokota's out. And maybe, whether the party will survive this at the parliamentary level and be cohesive enough to continue its presence in parliament is another question. But Lekota, I can never see Lekota surviving this at all.
Well, let's see what happens. Actually, obviously, some very interesting analysis coming through from you, and I think Willie Modisha also made this comment, saying that he spoke to Mosiwa Lakota and advised him to say that he is no longer the energetic terror Lakota, and I found that quite tongue in cheek as well,
Yeah.
Dr. Ebrahim Harvey.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Were you asking me something?
No, I said the statement that was made, saying that they spoke to Mosiwe Lakota and they advised him to say that he is no longer the energetic Terra Lakota, and obviously that was his nickname. And as you mentioned, in
Yes.
terms of his health conditions, age, and he's getting on in life.
Yes, no, but the thing that you just said now, which I alluded to earlier, there's been all around, from Cape Town to Joburg, all over. There's unison around that, and I think those people mean it constructively. Maybe he's got other weaknesses, but there's serious concern about his well-being, his health. And I watched him, I've seen him, when he does interviews, and even at the press, he's tired. You can see he's exhausted and he's ill. He should have he would have saved him. The history is going to recall what happened. How disgracefully he was kicked out. There's no way I can assure you now that Lakota will survive this assault on him. He should have bowed out earlier, listened to the people, and, history would have not recorded this disgraceful. You can't stop it now, let me tell you. He's out, and history is going to say on which terms he bowed out. If it was a disgrace, he should have left early. I'm sorry to say,
Well, Dr. Ebrahim Harvey, as always, shukran jazakallah for your time. We do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us here at Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Thanks very much. Okay, bye.
Political analyst Dr. Ebrahim Harvey. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back.